You can now generate production grade C# SDKs from your OpenAPI spec using Stainless. C# devs have high expectations. They want those strong types. They want LINQ composition. They want great tooling. First, we'll spin up an example SDK with Stainless, and I'll show you just how easy it is to get started through the dashboard. We're going to head over to create a brand new project. If you've just created an org, this is what you'll see. We're going to give it a project name. This needs to be globally unique, and we're going to pick C# as the language. For now, we're going to click on this try our example and create the project. Right when you jump into the project, you'll see your Stainless config on the right where you can make changes. In this case, I'm going to change the name of the SDK to my demo. You'll notice that the name of the class for the client changes to my demo client. And here you have some examples for how to git clone the generated code and add a reference to your local .NET project. But I really wanted a great example. And so one of our customers, Anthropic, has a C# SDK generated by Stainless. And I wanted to walk you through some of those features that make it feel like it was built by an experienced .NET developer. And we'll go through all of the highlights. Jumping into the terminal here, we're going to create a brand new .NET console application. And we'll add the Anthropic package, which will come down from NuGet. Getting right into it, we're going to initialize a brand new client, and I'm using an environment variable to store my API key, but if I wanted to, I could manually pass that here. We'll use Anthropic's messages API, and we're going to send in a simple message that asks the LLM to say hello like a robot. You'll notice that as we type out the class for the message create params object, we get a great IntelliSense. Not only do we see all of the documentation from our API spec, but we also can see which of those params are required. Here we're just going to pass in that one simple message, a number of tokens we're expecting back, and the model. Notice that when IntelliSense opens the list of possible enum values, the first is marked as deprecated. This is one of the ways that we can signal to developers that they're using deprecated features of an API. Let's pick Opus 4.5 for now. There's a couple different ways that we can kick off the request to the Anthropic API. This time we're going to await a call to messages create passing in those parameters. Again, we have this nice IntelliSense where we can hover and click to go to reference to read the method signature and all the documentation about those methods if we'd like. And for now, we'll just print this message out to the console. Fire this up with .NET Run. And here we see a greeting from a robot as the text of the content that's returned from the API. So the Stainless C# SDKs embrace immutability by default. Every model is an immutable record class, and it's not just a best practice or a checkbox. It's because immutability prevents this entire category of bugs. This helps us avoid accidental mutations and thread safety issues. And if you do actually need to modify something, then we have this escape hatch with the with expression to create a copy. So here we'll create a pirate message from the simple message, and we will make a copy of it, but update the content to say talk like a pirate. Ahoy there, matey. And we truly use immutable collections. Let's pop open this content property and take a look. You'll notice that this is an immutable array. We also use frozen dictionary, not mutable collections, pretending to be immutable. Another important feature is type safety, but with these escape hatches. So message gives us back this object that has the .model property on it, and that is nice, it's predictable, but type safety is great until an API does something the OpenAPI spec didn't document. So both for requests and responses, we have ways to expose access to either constructing raw JSON or deserializing raw JSON to get the actual data that you need. Here we'll build a new custom message using the message param.from raw unchecked factory method where we can pass in this new dictionary with the role. And this time we're going to ask it to say hello like a frog. Pass in the custom message. Run it again, we see ribbit ribbit. But if we wanted to deconstruct that response, we can also do so with .raw data. And then there's a few different methods to pull out those responses. So we're going to, in this case, use raw data.tryGetValue, which is going to give us this content variable that we can then print a string. And again, now we're seeing just that raw JSON data. So we have access when needed. Let's talk about streaming. So the SDKs support streaming, and SSE and JSON-L streams are exposed as these async enumerables in the idiomatic C# way, which means that you can compose them with LINQ, you can filter, transform, and take only what you need. And pagination works the same way. You just iterate, and we will fetch pages automatically. In this case, we'll iterate over a list of updates that are coming back over the stream for fetching the response when we ask for a new message to be sent. Each update is a raw message stream event, and we check to see if it's a JSON object. If it is, we're going to grab the text from that. Otherwise, we're going to print out the string from that delta. Now you'll notice that we had an exception here, and it's saying that the key wasn't in the dictionary. That's because there's a chance that we get back an object that is one of those deltas in the streaming response that is not of type text that's coming back. Let's take a look at some of these TryPick methods that the stainless C# generator is going to give you for safe extraction with nullable reference type support. First, we're going to TryPick for the content block delta. Then we're going to TryPick the text out of that delta. This will give us a text variable that we can then write to the console as each of those words stream in. Now, TryPick is saving us for when updates don't actually have a content block delta or don't have text as one of the available properties. All right, let's make this a little more interesting. So as part of our parameters, we're going to pass in and tell Claude that we want to enable thinking. This will make it so that the stream returns two different types of updates. We're going to get both thinking updates and also the raw assistant message back. And so here is a place where we can use switch. So the switch and match methods that are generated as part of Stainless SDKs are largely inspired by the OneOf library, which is kind of like a compile time checked switch statement. And you're going to get these sort of like F# style unions, but for C#, where you can pass in these lambda expressions. We think that it's easier and more intuitive. It's also concise and really, really nice for developers. In this case, we'll use the switch statement to handle both text and thinking, and we'll sort of just ignore input JSON citations and signature cases for now. Now, when we rerun, we'll see streaming updates that come in first with some thinking and then the output of the assistant message. Let's close out with a couple of those things that really matter in production. So we're going to help you publish to NuGet automatically on every release. We also support strong naming for those enterprise environments where signed assemblies are super important. We generate comprehensive unit tests so you can really trust that your SDK is working. And the dependencies are very minimal, just a handful of Microsoft packages for backporting features. You can head over to stainless.com and get started generating your C# SDKs today.